Welcome to EP Daily. Today on the show, we're taking a look at Deus Ex: Mankind Divided and LEGO Dimensions in the rundown.
Plus, we get an update from the developers of Fable Legends.
Oh, treasure.
And then we take a look back at the original Fable game with legendary developer Peter Molyneux. Also coming up, we have reviews of the co-op platformer Chariot, Bladestorm for the PS4, and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. We have two huge game announcements to talk about in the rundown, so let's get started. The Deus Ex series is getting some major augmentations. Square Enix has unveiled Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, the next big game in the Cyberpunk series. It's being developed at Eidos Montreal, the same studio behind the last game, Human Revolution, and will continue the story of Adam Jensen as he tracks down mechanically augmented terrorists. This time around, the developers want to improve the combat system by making it more fluid and giving players new abilities like remote hacking. The branching story options that are a staple of the Deus Ex franchise will also be back and more open-ended than ever. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided doesn't have a release date yet, which means we probably won't see it until at least 2016. It's being developed for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
I won't let it happen again.
And that's not the only big game that was recently announced. Prepare your wallets for LEGO Dimensions, a massive new crossover game where players can buy special LEGO figures in stores and then import them into the game using a special toy pad reader. This is very similar to the popular Skylanders and Disney Infinity franchises and seems like the perfect fit for LEGO given that it's a physical toy to begin with. Unfortunately, you won't be able to import existing LEGO figures. The game will only work with compatible LEGOs that have built-in NFC technology, which is sure to confuse a lot of parents. The game will ship with the reader and a starter pack that features three main heroes: Wildstyle from the LEGO Movie, Gandalf from LEGO Lord of the Rings, and Batman from the LEGO DC Universe. More sets based on other franchises like The Wizard of Oz, Ninjago, and Back to the Future will be available separately, although prices have not yet been revealed. LEGO Dimensions will launch September 27th.
Not bad.
Here to talk about today's big stories in the rundown is my buddy Scott Jones, otherwise known as the biggest LEGO fan in the universe. Are you excited about LEGO Dimensions?
I don't dislike LEGO. I like LEGO, but I don't know if I want LEGO Dimensions.
I'm very excited about what Dimensions means. I feel like we're going to know more throughout the summer. There's probably going to be a lot more exciting, expanded universe type stuff. I'd love to see LEGO Marvel stuff in there, of course. I'd like to see LEGO Star Wars stuff. They may wait because this is going to be a big year for Disney Infinity and it will be the competing product there. Yeah. But I'm super excited to, have this crossover mix of imagination because that's how kids play with LEGO.
I gotta say, I've been to your house before. Yeah. It's a big house, but I think it's getting a little small compared to all the stuff you need to make room for. And I know that when you see something like this, you're making a shopping list.
I think they're going to make a ton of money, and I like this toys to games sort of sector in the video game industry.
Well, if we had better video games, maybe we wouldn't want these toys.
I think they're working, man.
I'm just saying.
I like Disney Infinity. I like the Skylanders stuff. I like what Amiibo's got going, and I'm super excited about this LEGO.
I like you.
All right, let's talk about something that doesn't create a toy clutter in your house. This is the new Deus Ex game, Mankind Divided. Are you excited about that? We loved the first one, right?
We did, and we love the main character in the game, voiced, of course, by our good friend Elias Two Texas.
I never asked for this.
Yeah, that's very good. You know, if you ever have Elias, if you go down, Vic can step right in there. And I think the thing that we all admired about the first game was how intelligent it was and how cohesive it was.
It's always been a very smart franchise. It's always been very prescient, very much about computers, becoming part of our anatomy, and that seems to be a big part of our popular culture these days. You know, it's a really sort of on-the-money kind of concept. It's not science fiction anymore. It's going to be great.
And for sure, there probably will be at some point LEGO collectibles of all the characters in the game, including Elias Two Texas' voice.
I don't think so. I don't think
all be made of black
But
Legos.
The great thing about LEGO, you can build that. But anyways, it's time to go to your interview about Fable Legends.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you a story of heroes. Of 4 that came, 4 that fell. And of the heroes that took their place.
I'm here with David Eckelberry. He is the director for Fable Legends. Lots of news lately on Fable Legends. Tell me, why should people be excited about this title?
I think they should be excited to return to the land of Fable. You know, Albion's this wonderful place of adventure, and we're going to go back there, right? We're going to return you to a time of magic and myth and folklore where it's a lot of fun to be in this new space. And I think the way we're trying to innovate inside of the land of Albion, so the new 4v1 experience is an all new thing for us, and it's a lot of innovation, a lot of ways for us to experiment and give you a new kind of gameplay that marries the old way of playing Fable and some really new stuff that we're really excited for you to be playing soon.
How did we not smell that coming?
Watch yourselves!
So tell me in more detail, in your own words, obviously, the 4v1 aspect of the game that you just mentioned.
With Fable, you have a choice. Do you want to be a hero? You know, join a team of heroes. So there'll always be 4 heroes playing together. Now, you can play with your friends online, or you can play with AI. So if you want to play a single-player experience, then you're playing one hero, and you have kind of 3 hero sidekicks. Or you can go to the dark side, right? So if you're playing a villain, you're getting an incredibly different experience. Now, in previous Fable games, if you were playing a villain, you were just kind of a hero that still had to save the world while you kicked some chickens and maybe assassinated your wife along the way. Don't assassinate your wife, that's bad. No, but seriously though, you still had to kind of follow the same story arc as a hero. And we, in Fable Legends, wanted to give you a very different villain option. So if you're playing the villain in Fable Legends, that option is to be an evil god, right? You look down from above and you control all of the creatures, traps, and spells that the heroes have to fight against, what they have to defeat to complete their heroic objective, while you basically try to kill them, right? You're not a friend, you're not like a friendly dungeon master or something like that. You're a competitive player who takes on the heroes directly and defeats them through their quests and stories.
This quest shall lead me to honor, glory, and, oh, treasure.
Now, Fable has always been one of the most groundbreaking series in video game history. This time, you're breaking ground in a new direction. It's free to play. Tell me about the decision to make this free to play.
You know, the simplest thing is when we decided to make Fable Legends, we wanted an experience that reached as many people as possible. Fable Legends is going to be available cross-device on Xbox One and Windows 10. But the next extension to that was free to play. As a creator, I really want as many people in the world to play my games. That's the value, right? I mean, I don't make money from people playing it, but I do get a lot of pride in seeing my friends play the game and them enjoying it and talking about it. So as a studio, and as part of Microsoft, our commitment is to bring as many people into our universe as possible. We want a happy and engaged community of fans. So that meant for us, we were going to decide to go free to play and let everyone in the world play it for nothing.
Fable Legends becomes fabulously available later this year.
Another great one, Vic. And listen, Vic's classic interview with Peter Molyneux is coming up after the break.
Welcome back to EP Daily. A long time ago, at an E3 far, far away, Victor Lucas met a man named Peter Molyneux.
Yes, I remember it like it was only yesterday. It was E3 2004, and I'm not sure you were even alive yet, but regardless, here's Vic talking to Peter.
I'm here at the Xbox booth with the incredible Peter Molyneux. So tell us, how has the game progressed? What are we looking at now?
Well, over the last year, we've been, trying to fulfill the promises that we set at last E3.
Yeah.
So the character changing to reflect the way you play it. If you want to play a bad guy, you can play a bad guy. If you want to play a good guy, you can play a good guy. It's completely up to you. We've done that. We've created the world now, so you've got all these towns which are simulated. You can go into the town, do the bizarre things you want, and we've been working on the story. And having all this freedom, it's pretty boring without there being a consistent story there. And lastly, getting that competitive nature into a role-playing game. You're not the only hero around to do this job. There are other heroes competing against you.
So they're AI characters that will beat you to the tasks if you don't get to them?
You could be down in the bottom of a town and one of the townsfolk says, can you rescue the girl on top of the cliff? You look up there and there's Eric the Bloodslayer going up the rescue. You say, oh no, he's going to get all the credit for that. And don't forget, you're a hero in the game, so you'll see people dress like you and cut their hair like you cut your hair and have the same beards as your character's got. So you don't want Eric the Bloodslayer suddenly them to turn around and look like him.
How are you structuring the gameplay?
Definitely real time is the way to go. Yeah. The combat system. Basically, you can think of the combat system as being morphing. If you use a really big sword and are fighting lots of things, then you'll be much more of a hulky barbarian type, or are you going to be, using much more subtle weapons like knives and daggers and shurikens, and then your character will be a lot more dexterous. You'll be fast enough to catch arrows in midair, or are you going to use the magic system? And that's the only thing we're not showing is the magic system, because it is something really special. It's based upon willpower, and it is this cool ability to stop things and stop time.
How large will the environment be in the game? How much land will you have to traverse? And will you guys be adding things like horses so that you can cross terrain quicker?
Yeah, the world is truly massive. You play on different lands. You actually need to take passages across to different lands. But let's talk about moving around. In role-playing games, I found it just ultimately boring to walk up and down that same old path.
Yeah.
So one of the early skills that you can achieve in the willpower is to teleport yourself. And what the rule that we've imposed is, anywhere you can see, you can go to. You just reach your hand up there and you can go in that thing. So that avoids the whole walking up and down. We really want to take people from, one segment to the next segment as quickly as possible.
2004 was a really long time ago. Was it the time when bikes were around, where there was like a big wheel in the front and a little wheel in the back, and people wore monocles?
Hilarious. Moving right along, you and Vic recently played the co-op platformer Chariot.
Yeah.
Here's your review.
Why am I still here? Shouldn't I be ascending? I was told there would be a bright light. Where's my bright light?
We finally had a chance to take a look at Chariot. This was a big nominee at the Canadian Video Game Awards before the end of the year. It had lots of buzz on it. We talked about it in the shows, but we never reviewed it before. Chariot now is available on every damn platform.
Every platform. And I was so impressed with it at the Video Game Awards when I got to see all the footage, and I knew all about it as well. I just was never compelled to pick it up.
Yeah.
And I suppose because it's so heavily marketed as a co-op game, and I'm such a solitary gamer that I just felt maybe it wasn't for me.
So we forced ourselves to play together. And basically the story is you are dragging this chariot around. It's basically like a coffin. It houses the soul of a dead king.
I don't really like doing things for this king.
I know.
And I feel like we're this king's slave, which is not okay with me. And not only do we need to find a place for him to ascend, because he doesn't like that he's living in this limbo, he wants to ascend to heaven. Clearly he deserves that for being such a jerk his whole life. But he also wants us to collect money for him as well. So,
Which
I mean...
pisses you off to no end when it's just you dragging this thing around. It's like, okay...
Find me a sepulcher worthy of my magnificence and fill it with riches.
It forces you to kind of rethink all of the jumping mechanics that we've been trained in these 2D scrolling platform action adventure games to play, because you're dragging this damn thing behind you, and sometimes you're hanging off of it, sometimes you're pulling it, sometimes you're reeling it in.
You're pushing it.
Or you're jumping on top of it to scale up. It's a physics-based platformer.
Yes.
But that equation changes when it's two of you, because you're going to get into situations where you need someone to leap off of the chariot, jump up to a level, while the other one is dangling, and you reel them in like a big fish. It's like an old college prank.
Make or break a relationship.
Yep.
I mean, luckily you and I get along, but if we didn't, we could have been at it.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like this
Jump up there!
I know.
Jump there!
Just hang on that thing!
You know, this isn't so bad. Ah! I take it back!
I did enjoy it. I thought it was cute, but of course, there are things that took away from my experience, like the fact that the levels are too long.
They're too long and too simple looking. I mean, there's some nice kind of ethereal effects where you can hang off of these spooky ledges and things, or the chariot itself will only stay up in there, so you can dangle off of the thing.
Yes.
And it adds a nice sort of layer of a pseudo ghost-like vibe to everything.
Yeah.
But in terms of art style, it doesn't really pop off the screen like a Little Big Planet does, or we're playing Ori.
Blind Forest, nothing like that.
And I think that's one of the issues with Chariot as well, is that it's very cutesy, but it doesn't really shout. It doesn't stand out. And we were so inundated with lots of, you know, retro 2D scrolling types of games like this, and even some pretty cool physics platformers like this.
Yeah.
I think it has been a struggle for the game to receive attention, because at the core it's a solid title.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't look like it is.
Even in the audio, I feel like there is great sounds of collecting and all of that, but there's no real soundtrack that you're hearing while you're playing, which I think would also add to the experience. And the voiceovers, I don't feel connected to the characters, and I feel like the characters don't actually match their voices.
It doesn't ooze the charm that you want it to.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, those are little nitpicky things, of course, but I'm really trying to find the reason why I'm not as compelled to play this game.
It's definitely worth trying, but you want to play with somebody else. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it gets a 7 for me as well.
Oh, I can't believe this. The lawyers are making me say this. No chariots were harmed in the making of that review.
Oh, that's really funny, Jones. Brace yourself for Bladestorm after the break.
There's no right or wrong anymore.
Indeed.
Welcome back to EP Daily. If you fancy yourself a history buff, you might want to pay attention to this next review. Bladestorm Nightmare doesn't really have one of those names that you'll be reading about in History 101, but who knows? The game could be that good. Once upon a time, there was a game called Bladestorm. Some people picked it up and played it, and they decided to make another game called Bladestorm Nightmare. But I'm wondering now, Victor Lucas, was it a dream come true, or was it really a nightmare for you?
This is one of those types of games that's been upconverted and enhanced and sort of collector's editionized for the new machines, the current machines. And it has one scratching their head because it feels unbelievably dated.
Forward into battle!
This is kind of a riff on the Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, crowded battlefield type thing. And you're basically choosing different types of characters, and you're also commanding large armies, and you're squaring off against other large armies.
First of all, the visuals here are not up to par.
They're a
These
travesty.
are, everything looks really muddy. And
No, it's not even that. It's just so cluttered and confusing. There's all kinds of on-screen pop-up stuff. All these arcadey type sort of windows and balloons and things like popping up, and you're like, what the hell am I looking at? Because what you see in terms of gameplay is just a mash of bodies, and it's a complete cluster.
There's no right or wrong anymore.
Indeed.
When you're jumping in into the main title screen, you get a choice of playing the normal game mode or nightmare mode. What I did was go into the normal mode because you build up your character that way, and then you can use that same character and implement that into nightmare mode. And how nightmare mode differs from the regular gameplay mode is that it's a more fantastical take on it. Because right now, in the normal game mode, we're taking part in the 100 Years' War. So it's just England and it's France and it's fighting, which sounds like a very interesting concept for a game, especially a war-based game, and especially when we can actually control troops. But jumping into it and learning how exactly that happens is so convoluted. The tutorial isn't really even that helpful.
No, it isn't, and just looks like a bunch of problems. It just looks like unfinished development and unfinished art. It's been very hard for these crowd-based action RPG type games to successfully be designed for these consoles.
I am not certain why he knows so much, though.
You can actually choose between different kinds of fighters here.
Change on the fly.
And change on the fly, which is interesting, but learning how to do that is really irritating. But also, while you're commanding in-game, you're using 3 different buttons, and that's all you're really doing here is using 3 different buttons, and you have to wait for some of them to regenerate. Holding them down sometimes helps. Honestly, you're learning as you go, which is fine. For most video games, I'm okay with it, but this one just seemed so frustrating, and I almost turned it into a game for myself while playing. I was hating it so much that I started to enjoy hating it.
Follow me to victory!
It is a miserable game, and I could just imagine anybody taking a look at this thing and being utterly confused, no matter their level of game experience or not. And imagine someone that hasn't really played a lot of video games or played anything like this, sitting down to this travesty.
I was thinking that too.
It doesn't deserve to exist in 2015.
It's so true.
It just doesn't deserve to be out on the market, and it's a shock that games like this are still trying to push for attention. This is awful. This is just a terrible experience, and it doesn't deserve to be in anybody's collection. Stay the hell away from this thing.
Yeah, this is a very bad game. Victor Lucas, what are you scoring Bladestorm Nightmare?
0.5.
Wow!
It's crap.
I'm gonna go a little higher than Victor Lucas, getting a 2 for me.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm still having nightmares over that one. Pun intended. So clever. Stick around for more gems like that one after the break.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to EP Daily. It is time now for the best part of every show. It's the Twitter question of the day. Today's question comes from Ryan. He is at RyBBO. Would you rather have a sequel or a prequel for The Last of Us. Now, we both love The Last of Us. We didn't have enough points in our point system to give to The Last of Us, double tens. But prequel or sequel, what do you want?
Well, I wouldn't mind a couple of prequel episodes, like the downloadable content that came with The Last of Us or came after The Last of Us. But yeah, I absolutely want a sequel. I want to see what happens with Joel and Ellie. It's an incredible ending to the first game, and it definitely leaves things open for more. I want more.
You don't want a prequel, though?
Well, if they did a prequel episode, a little flashback type thing.
You know what? I've been soured on prequels, and
I know why. Yes.
So, yeah, episodes 1, 2, and 3. Thank you, George Lucas. But I definitely, I'm with you. I want a sequel for sure. I want to know what happened to these people. I still think about them. I Facebook them all the time. I hope they're still out there, still thinking about us too.
Naughty Dog's got to get Uncharted 4 to us, and then get to work on that thing right away. All right. Remember, you can watch full episodes of EP Daily, as well as send us any questions you want at epn.tv.
We've got more EP coming at you very soon, including our review of Resident Evil Revelations 2, the complete game. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you tomorrow.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by GameLock, makers of Dragon Mania Legends, which you can play for free right now.
I like switching back and forth between the characters. I worried a little bit more when Moira was walking around with only her flashlight. She can solve some puzzles that Claire can't solve. You need to use both of them over the course of the game. I like using the two characters to solve the problems in the game.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And there's also all this extra content with the raid mode, which is kind of
super addictive.
Yeah, it is addictive, and you're just unlocking new weapons and new skins and new things. And they basically just lean in the action direction for a little bit and let you just go hardcore on all of these zombies.